effort I mentioned earlier called targeting. You cannot have a successful high-end interrogation of a high-end Al-Qaeda prisoner unless you know so much about that prisoner. Not a mid-level guy, not a low-level guy, but so much because you've been following for so long that you can come up with, in concert with other experts, physicians, psychologists, interrogators, that you can come up with a package of questions over weeks where that detainee starts to realize, A, these guys know a lot more than I know, and B, they seem to know when I'm lying. When that prisoner is under duress, when that prisoner has been in a confined box, when that prisoner has been under sleep deprivation, is exhausted, when that prisoner starts to realize that he can't lie his way out, you start to get answers. Not truth. Not truth. We were not stupid. Some answers never came, particularly, for example, locational information about Osama bin Laden. But you get what we call compliance. Someone will try to give you bits and pieces of information that they think are less valuable. Yeah, there was a guy we trained a few years ago who was a German at our camp. I think his name was Hans. I'm making up these stories, but that kind of material, those bits and pieces are invaluable gold for an intel guy. If a prisoner is compliant and he gives you what he thinks is throwaway information about somebody who trained, a German or a Frenchman or a Brit or American, just one example, who trained 3 years ago, game on for people in my world. I'm going to bounce that against every bit of data we've had, against every bit of travel data we can acquire, against every other detainee who might know, and all of a sudden, over the course of time, those bits of sand are going to tell us who that person was who trained 3 years ago, based on one tiny shred of evidence, shred of information from a compliant detainee who was giving you stuff he thought was irrelevant. The point I'm making is, of course, people lie. And the only way you can get out of that box is developing an interrogation package that is so complete that that detainee feels he needs a lifeline. And that lifeline was the CIA. A lot happened after the initial stages of the Abu Zubaydah interrogation. When I spoke with lawyers and managers of black sites, managers of the program, they talk about the maturation of the program. The first months and years were tough. Remember, you have an agency that's trained to collect information from spies overseas that is now serving as a prison, conducting interrogations that the CIA had never done. The CIA values agility, but sometimes they step into programs because they believe nobody will ever do it, despite the fact that we don't have experience doing it, we'll do it. That was part of the genesis, part of the ethos that led to the black sites and the interrogation program. But because of conversations with lawyers who were meticulous, and I know some of these people, the black sites matured into 03, 04. Policies and procedures tightened, training changed. There were some individuals involved in the program early on who should not have been involved. Typically, over time, people who were recruited, if they walked in the room and said, I really want to get in this because I want to go after with vengeance the people that committed the acts of 9/11, those people were weeded out. You would not pass the application process as the program matured unless you could be assured that you were in there to be professional. I realized there were weaknesses, they were outlined in the book, and mistakes early in the program, but as lawyers, training, leadership got involved, particularly after some egregious mistakes, the program matured. Other things happened that were surprising. I can tell you, sitting at the threat table in 2002, 2003, 2004, until I shifted to the FBI in 2005, I thought we were losing. That may come as a surprise to you. The U.S. Army had invaded Afghanistan, supported by the CIA. I saw a breadth of a network that I did not think we were in front of for years, and a volume of threats and attacks that we could not